rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Black Americans are divided on transgender advocacy. A local Spectrum News 13 reporter just started his job in July 2022, was murdered while covering the scene of a murder yesterday. Also from Revolver News, Undercover, Metropolitan Police were part of the, let's say, the entrapment of J6 protesters. 39 states mandated masks. Now a new study shows masks don't work. That and more. Also, Trump visits Palestine, Ohio. Buttigieg still doesn't have time to visit. Actually, he's going to finally visit today, but he didn't have time to answer a reporter's questions about why he hadn't been there yet. He was on personal time. Can't get his personal time mixed up with his duties as the transportation secretary, God forbid. We'll be talking about that and much more next on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Stay tuned for message program. All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Please be sure to follow us on all social media, The Carl Jackson Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Carl Jackson Show, on YouTube. We're also on Rumble as well. I want to remind you to please support our sponsors, MyPillow. MyPillow is out with their latest product, MyPillow 2.0. Guys, you guys are going to love this pillow. Please go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl, and you will get, there's a buy one, get one free offer right now. So they just launched this MyPillow 2.0. Mike Lindell did. Remember, this is a American company providing American jobs, American manufacturing, and providing you a good night's rest. When Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could ever want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he discovered a new technology that makes it even better. The MyPillow 2.0 has the patented adjusted feel of the original MyPillow, and now with a brand new fabric that is made with a temperature regulating thread. The MyPillow 2.0 is the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow that you will ever own. For my listeners, there's an exclusive offer. Again, you buy one, get one free. All you have to do is use the promo code Carl. MyPillow 2.0 temperature regulating technology is 100% made in the USA. Comes with a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money-back guarantee. Guys, I can vouch for this. I have the pillow. I've been using the pillow. I love the pillow. You're going to love the pillow, and it does keep you cool. I didn't think Mike Lindell could beat the first MyPillow. They've just done it, guys. So check it out. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl. All right, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. That is 800-858-0263. Also, just so that you're prepared, God forbid, you experience or we experience a natural disaster or something worse, I want you to be prepared. I want you to have a survival kit for your family. Could you imagine being the people in Turkey or Syria or the Ukrainians that find themselves displaced as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war? I don't ever want you to be in that predicament. So please go support our friends, forpatriots.com. Get yourself a survival kit. If you spend $97, you'll get a year-long guarantee plus free shipping on orders that are over $97. Also, there's a 3-month survival kit included in that right now. If you go to forpatriots.com, if you use my name, you'll get 10% off of your first purchase. Guys, just stock up. Just have it just in case, God forbid. Make sure your family is ready for whatever may come. I mean, the food is 25 years super food. All right. So just have it in stock. Again, it's an American company. It's hand packed in a family owned facility right here in the USA. They provide over 200 American jobs. The kits are compact, they're sturdy, they're water resistant, and they stack easily. The meals are ready to go. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are ready to go in just 20 minutes. All you have to do is add boiling water, simmer, and serve. Just use my name, Carl, as the promo code, and know this, that a portion of every sale goes to help out charities that are blessing the veterans and their families. All right. So a portion of every sale goes out to help them. So bless the veterans and their families. Also bless your family by being ready, by having the survival kit available. ForPatriots.com, promo code Carl. All right. So let me get into some of the topics of the day. I think I want to start with this clip with Donald Trump here, but let me just share a couple of news items. Let me go through the Jackson's Five, and they do include Donald Trump. I'm going to include some of my bigger stories in what happened in Palestine, Ohio, or Trump's visit. What we have video footage of what Buttigieg had to say when he was confronted by a reporter. Also, there's a where is it at? There's something that I really want to dive into today, big time, and that is this. This was confirmed. Had to Revolver News. There were undercover Metropolitan Police on scene and J6, not just FBI, that were basically acting as agent provocateurs for J6 protesters, and the evidence has not been released. This is why the J6 Commission, the J6 or the former J6 committee, this is why they're in a complete and utter panic. There's so much evidence that's going to be revealed. Thank God Kevin McCarthy gave the material to Tucker Carlson's crew. I believe there's so much evidence that's going to be revealed in these videos that a lot of these J6 protesters should be fully exonerated. There's no doubt in my mind. There are what's being discovered is that there was a level of entrapment and intentionality to make sure that a lot of Trump supporters were jailed, that it's unbelievable. And it's disgusting that we have people in Washington, D.C. in the Democrat Party who claim to be for the little guy, who claim to be a party of compassion, that are anything but. They are willing to allow people to rot in jail to make a political or to perpetuate a political narrative that Republicans or people that support Trump are domestic terrorists when there's no evidence whatsoever to prove it. You had Black Lives Matter riots, you had Antifa riots, and all of a sudden you get people that amass on the Capitol, the People's House on January 6th, mostly peaceful, many of them ushered in by cops. And now we know agent provocateurs or it's confirmed that agent provocateurs were in the crowd, and we don't hear anything. This is disgusting what's happening. So we've got to talk about this, and that will be our big story of the day. But first, before we get to that, I just want to make you guys aware of a very sad story that happened here right in Orlando. And it's being reported as national news. It's such a sad story. And I know exactly where this location is. As a matter of fact, I have family members that reside literally just a couple of blocks or so away from where this crime took place, where this murder took place. So this is from Fox 35, even though the person that was murdered, the reporter, one of the people that was murdered, happened to be a journalist for Spectrum News 13 here locally in Central Florida here. So Orlando journalist Dylan Lyons was identified as the victim that was killed in a Pine Hill shooting spree. Now, right here in Orlando, a lot of us call Pine Hills Crime Hills because there does seem to be a lot of guys with gold teeth running around committing crimes in Pine Hills. I came from LA. I lived in Pine Hills for quite some time. I didn't think it was that bad, comparatively speaking, but as far as crime-ridden neighborhoods go, in Orlando, Pine Hills is one of the ones that are up there, unfortunately. So Florida television news reporter who was shot and killed while reporting at a murder scene in Orlando was identified by his TV station on Thursday morning and remembered as a, quote, motivated and talented professional who was living his dream in Orlando, close quote. So Spectrum News 13 announced on Thursday that its reporter Dylan Lyons was shot on Wednesday afternoon while at the scene of a shooting in Pine Hills. Lyons later died at the hospital from his injuries. Jesse Walden was a photographer for Spectrum News 13. He was also shot. He remains in critical condition, but is at the hospital, but he is responsive, thank God. Orange County deputy said that the 19-year-old suspect, it was young black male, a guy by the name of Keith Melvin Moses. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of him online or on television. Also shot a mother. He shot and her 9-year-old daughter, as well as a 20-year-old woman. So the little girl, the 9-year-old girl, the 20-year-old girl that he shot, both of them died. So the 9-year-old, the 20-year-old died. The young girl's mother is in critical condition, but still alive. Guys, I see it here. I can't imagine the pain. If that mother does, in fact, survive, I can't imagine the pain that she's going to have knowing that her little 9-year-old girl was murdered, and likely obviously right in front of her face. According to Spectrum News 13, Lyons is a graduate of University of Central Florida. I live pretty close to the campus, where he joined the news station in July. I mean, the young kid, 24 years old, he's literally been on the job 6-7 months or so, and now he's dead. For reporting at a crime scene in Orlando, he becomes a part of a new crime scene in the very location. A woman named Casey Lynn, who says she is Lyons' fiance, tweeted on Thursday, quote, "The love of my life was murdered. I will never be the same person ever again," close quote. A dedicated and motivated reporter dealing with shot and killed while working at the scene of a homicide. Spectrum News remembers our fallen colleague, the news station tweeted on Thursday. Orange County Sheriff John Mina told reporters during a Wednesday afternoon press conference that the news crew who were covering the Wednesday morning deadly shooting of the 20-year-old woman were shot inside of their vehicle. Both men were taken to the hospital where Lyons died, and Waldron remains in critical condition. The 9-year-old girl and her mom, again, shot nearby in their home, Sheriff Mina said, and they obviously, the 20-year-old at least and the 9-year-old succumbed to the injuries as well as did Lyons. So a very sad story right here locally that I wanted to bring to you. And the world is just evil. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's been accounts where literally there's been reporters that have been on scene that have been murdered on scene by crazy people. Maybe it's time to have armed guards around some of these people if they're not, in fact, carrying themselves. Definitely there needs to be an awareness. We just live in crazy evil times, and we just can't take that for granted. So that's one story that I wanted to talk about. And talk to you about now. Here's another story, and let me open up my laptop if I can get it back on. Thank you very much. All right, so now I think we want to go to Gabe. Give me just a second here, guys. I apologize. I want to make sure that I get this right. All right, so now let's go to. All right, let's do this. Trump visits East Palestine, brings hope, and donates supplies. So let's go to the part of the press conference. Here is former President Donald Trump in East Palestine, Ohio. Before we play this, Gabe, let me. I'm going to show you do a comparison and contrast of what real leadership looks like, regardless of what you feel about Trump. There's no doubt that he was a real leader that actually cared for the American people. That actually cared for American interests. You can see in Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden, they are these globalists, these big government people where you're so far from government. You're so far from representative government with these people. They are the elites of government. They prefer big government. They prefer a big chasm that sits between the elites and the voters, where Trump is a man of the people. How this guy is able to pull this off being a billionaire, I think it's simple. He worked around. He was a contractor, real estate. You get to work around all types of people, right? You get to talk to all types of people when you're working with them. So this was a guy just like his father that spoke to construction workers, regardless of race, all that stuff, regardless of economic class. He was a guy that knew how to get things done in a boardroom, but knew how to communicate with people, the construction workers that were on the site. And I think it obviously bodes well for him because it connects him with the average everyday American citizen. And you see that in Trump's leadership. And that's one of the things that I love and many people love about former President Donald Trump. But here he is in Palestine, Ohio, doing what Joe Biden should have done instead of taking the trip to. Now, I shouldn't say instead of taking the trip to Ukraine. I have no problem with Joe Biden going to Poland and Ukraine. Actually, I do have a problem with him going to Ukraine. If it's not our war, I take that back. Let me reel that back. If it's not our war, honestly, our support for Ukraine should have been done on the down low. Joe Biden is trying to make this a moment where he's obviously navigated this war, this proxy war. I believe it's a proxy war between the United States and now China. So he's navigated this horribly. They've done a very horrible job, or completely incompetent when it comes to foreign policy. And he's just kind of designing and doing theater as they go. His entire administration is. Trump was a different leader, much better at foreign policy. And I think you see that. I think that plays out right here in Ohio. So let's go ahead. Let's roll the clip here, Gabe. This is Trump giving a press conference giving a press conference in Palestine, Ohio, as well as just listening to the people. Sometimes that's all people want. So this is former President Donald Trump.
To the people of East Palestine and to the nearby communities in Ohio and Pennsylvania, we have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We stand with you, we pray for you, and we will stay with you in your fight to help answer, and the accountability that you deserve. We'll have that accountability. It'll all be out there very clearly. Over the past few weeks, the community has shown the tough and resilient heart of America, and that's what it is. This is really America right here. We're standing in America. Unfortunately, as you know, in too many cases, your goodness and perseverance were met with indifference and betrayal in some cases. What this community needs now are not excuses and all of the other things you've been hearing, but answers and results, and that's what I think you're going to say. See, I sincerely hope that when your representatives and all of the politicians get here, including Biden, they get back from touring Ukraine, that he's got some money left over. That was a tragedy, close to an unbelievable tragedy. Could have been really bad. And thank goodness that didn't happen. But you're going to have tremendous help now. And I know FEMA will do the job like nobody can do it like them. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right. So now many people are asking, this, including Gabe asked me before, is this Trump's heart? Is this Trump just playing politics? It's both. It's both. I mean, this is what a leader is supposed to do. Look at Trump, and he just feels presidential compared to Joe Biden, who tripped up the stairs again when he was leaving. What was it, Ukraine or Poland? The other day. I mean, Trump just feels presidential. You like him or not, there's a sense of peace and calm when he steps into the room or goes into a territory like East Palestine, Ohio. You believe that he's going to take care of business. Whereas you look at Joe Biden and all you see or all you get is what you saw in Ukraine, political theater with sirens going off, no one reacting, bomb sirens, no one acting to bomb sirens, while the United States, the president of the United States and the leader of Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, are just walking through a zone, bomb sirens going off, and they're not reacting. Come on, man. We're tired of the theater. All right. We want real leadership. We're not getting it in the Biden administration. Here's Pete Buttigieg. Here's his response to why he has not shown up yet in Palestine, Ohio. Allegedly, he's going to show up today. We'll wait and see. We'll have to see what happens. But here he is skirting away and being a little nasty with the reporter that's asking him, hey, basically, where the heck are you, Pete Buttigieg? And he says, scoot, you little peon. I'm on personal time. Essentially, this is his attitude. But this is big government. I want you to understand, this isn't just Pete Buttigieg. This isn't just how he is. This is the left. This is the Democrat Party. Big government is in charge. You don't deserve the right to question them for anything. They will do what they want to do. They will do it when they want to do it. And you're going to shut up and you're going to take it and you're going to like it. So that's the message that Pete Buttigieg and the Biden administration is sending to you. Here's the video of Pete Buttigieg.
Jenny Terra at the Daily Caller News Foundation. What do you have to say to the folks in Ohio, East Palestine, who are suffering right now?
Well, I'd refer you to about a dozen interviews I've given today, and if you'd like to arrange a conversation, be sure to reach out to our press office, but I can have that conversation with you. Just walk
You don't have a message for them?
I do, and I shared it with the press many times today. I'd refer you to those comments.
Would you mind sharing it with us?
No, I'm going to refer you to the comments that I made to the press because right now I'm taking some personal time and I'm walking down the street.
Are you going down there?
What's that?
Are you going down there at all?
Yeah, I am.
When are you going?
I'll share that when I'm ready.
Okay,
I'll talk down the
thank you.
street. Can I get a photo of you?
Yeah.
Back in 1978,
All right. Wow. So Pete Buttigieg, can I get did he ask her for a phone number? Why is that so he can torment her later? This guy is absolutely unbelievable. A lot of people trumpet his horrible, the fact that he's so horrible as transportation secretary because he was this small town mayor in Indiana. I'm not sure that he was it. He's just a guy. He's just talk. He doesn't know what he's doing. Remember, he was this small town mayor in Indiana, but he wasn't successful as a mayor. He was a good mayor. I'm sorry. I'm one of these people that believe if you perform a task and you do well on a micro level, you can learn how to do well on a macro level. Yeah, of course, it'll take some adjusting to that. But he was a horrible mayor. People forget that. A lot of black people did not like him. I think it was in Fort Bend, Indiana. They complained about like he never got stuff done. The guy was lazy. He just showed up in front of the camera. We're seeing the same thing. He's an elite. He's an elitist. That's who he is. Hey, no, I'll refer you to the comments that I gave earlier. He's not suffering. He's not feeling the pain. He doesn't have to worry about drinking water that's toxic. So, you know, hey, I'll get there when I get there. That's Pete Buttigieg. But it's not just Pete Buttigieg. It's the left. This is who they are. This isn't a government that is of, for, and by the people. This is elites. These are elites that simply are incompetent and do not know what they're doing. And that's what we see being played out with Pete Buttigieg. Okay, another story that I like to get to. Mask mandates were a bust. Says a rigorous study. Now, I talked about this the other day. I think I did on here as well, but I definitely talked about it on Monday on Officer Tatum's program. And I just want to mention that again real quick if I can find it in my notes. All right. So hat tip, Forgotten Men gave me this study. I saw one. I read it earlier in the week, but there was a Cochrane study. I believe it's called a Cochrane or Cochrane review, Cochrane. So the science wasn't settled, apparently. I have to the Daily Signal. A new Cochrane review analysis of masking studies finds that when it comes to an entire population, there was no evidence to support that masking reduces the spread of a disease. So this Cochrane review analyzed surgical masks. They analyzed the little diapers that went over your face, and N95 mask. And in their review and in their study, they came to the conclusion that none of the masks, not even the N95 that were being pushed and people were making buttloads of money off of. Did you guys see the story that New York City literally sold or just auctioned off did you hear this story, Gabe? $200 million worth of COVID equipment. They just auctioned off for $500,000. $200 million worth of COVID equipment that New York City paid for, they just essentially gave away for $500,000. If that doesn't tell you that COVID became a money-making scam for so many people, I don't know what does. And that many New York City officials were duped and apparently don't want to admit it. But this latest story, this latest review with Cochrane, it is a very in-depth review. This is a study that journalists on all sides and everything in between agrees is the gold standard. The Atlantic's Yasmin Tayyib said the paper, a rigorous assessment of 78 studies, was published by Cochrane, an independent policy institution that has become well known for its reviews. It's out of London, by the way. But former Planned Parenthood CEO Leanna Wen, she didn't want to give up the ghost, if you will. She says even if mask recommendations might not have a population effect, a high quality mask still work on an individual level if that person consistently wears them. So this is a lady that doesn't want to admit that she and others lied to the American people. And maybe she's right. I don't know. I don't know if there's a study out that proves that. But basically, it comes down to the left doesn't want to admit that they were completely wrong. The lockdowners don't want to admit that they were completely wrong. The pro-maskers don't want to admit that they were wrong because it hurts their pride. They have to admit that people that they were claiming were evil and trying to kill people were right all along. And as a matter of fact, it was them that were evil and destroying lives. So they don't want to admit to that. And I have no problem with people wearing masks. I'm sure many of you don't. But what I do have a problem with is a government mandate telling me that I have to put something on my body. And I believe that was what many of you were upset about, too. Now, a whopping, according to Ballotpedia, a whopping 39 states, including 17 Republican states, or 17 states that were governed by Republican governors, imposed mask mandates during the pandemic. The article says here, nor were those mandates short-lived, done during the initial panic about the pandemic and then quickly ended as governors realized this was going to be a long haul. With the exception of 4 states, these statewide mandates lasted 148 days or longer, with Hawaii, quote, winning the crown by imposing a mandate for nearly 2 years, 704 days for Hawaii. And the article goes on, what for? Perhaps even more infuriating is that we could have known masking didn't work in early 2020 before endless months or years of mandated masking, before young kids' language development suffered from language development, facial recognition skills took a hit. And they were all of these things were affected by long-term masking. A guy, the author of the study, his name is Jefferson. What is his first name? Tom Jefferson. He said he's the study's lead author and a senior associate tutor at the University of Oxford. He said, what did he say? There were studies released as early as November 2020 that found no evidence for masking being effective. But in his interview with Damasi, not sure who Damasi is, he said that the study was actually ready 7 months before it was even published, right at the time governments across the world were making critical decisions. He said Cochrane made them jump through hoops. All right. He said for some unknown reason, Cochrane decided it needed an extra peer review, quote unquote. So this is something that Cochrane didn't do before. Apparently, they were playing it safe as well. He says the main message of that editorial was that you can't sit on your hands. You've got to do something. You can't wait for good evidence. It's a complete subversion of the precautionary principle, which states that you should do nothing unless you have reasonable evidence that benefits outweigh the harms. And basically, here's a deal. The mask establishment, mainstream media establishment, the medical establishment had information at their fingertips about the masking that they did not share with us. A lot of us had common sense, called all types of names, said we were liars, said we were dumb, said we were killing our grannies, and all this kind of nonsense. And the left were completely wrong, and they don't want to admit it, because they would have to admit that everything they did as far as the pandemic, as far as the lockdowns were concerned, were not only wrong, but they were evil. The experts would have to admit that, guess what? People that exercise common sense were more wise than them. All right. So that's another story here. All right, I'm sorry, I'm still flipping through. Basically, instead of Jackson's 5, some of the stories were so good, I just decided to tackle them in their entirety. Guys, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We would really appreciate it wherever you go to get your podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Carl Jackson Show on YouTube. We're also on Rumble. If some of you are out there and you prefer to watch on Rumble, that's absolutely fine with us, but please subscribe. You'll get the podcast right in your inbox, and we would appreciate that so much. Follow me on social media. We really want to build up Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on True Social. We're on Getter. You can find us there. All right. You can message me. Best place to message me is probably Facebook and Twitter. I'll try to respond. I can't respond to all, but I do try to respond to many, or at least acknowledge that I read many of your messages, and I do appreciate that. Okay, so let's move on to the next story. What do we have here? I'm sorry, I'm moving a little slow here today. Parental nightmare. All right. Children's mental health declines as social media use skyrockets. No crap, Crimlock. The American conservatives, social media is causing serious harm to our kids, and parents are struggling to protect them. A recent report found that 80% of parents, regardless of political affiliation, want parental consent required before a minor opens a social media account, and 77% want parents to have administrator level access to their kids' online activities. Okay, why not just take the damn phone from the kid? Like, what the heck? Expecting everybody else to do something. Just take the freaking phone from your kid, for God's sakes. You know, a lot of these tech giants, they don't allow their kids to have phones. You realize that, right? The Bill Gates of the world, or the Zuckerbergs, all these people. Zuckerbergs don't have kids yet. They don't allow their kids to play around with these phones. There was a study where many of them admitted that they don't allow their kids to be on their phones all day, just absorbing all this social media crap. They actually want them to be smart. So maybe we should learn a lesson from the people who actually invented a lot of this stuff, isn't it? It's amazing. All right, the study goes on to say 77% want parents to have administrator level access to their kids. However, parents alone can't address this problem. They say in current federal laws are not up to the task. Teens are more depressed and anxious than ever before, and nearly 3 in 5 teen girls felt persistent sadness in 2021. And I'd imagine it's tougher for girls than for guys, because you look on social media and everybody is gorgeous and everybody is vacationing all the time, and everybody has something to say. You want to feel like you're a part of it. Then if you're not a minority, if you're not black, you want to feel like a victim, because blacks get a lot of attention for being victims. Trans people get a lot of attention for being victims. And so you want to be a part of that stuff. So I'd imagine that things are a lot tougher for girls. But that's just something you have to be mindful of. Parents, don't be afraid to be parents. If you have to take the freaking phone away from your kids, just take the freaking phone away from your kids. Stop waiting on government to do it, for God's sakes. I think that's the major lesson there. Here's another story. Roald Dahl's classic children's books edited for the sake of inclusion and accessibility. So Dahl's classics include Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the BFG. All right, this according to National Review. The boderization, I'm not sure of this word, was done with the blessing of Dahl's estate by the UK-based consultancy Inclusive Minds, which is dedicated to, quote, inclusion and accessibility in children's literature. This is so sad, close quote. The organization's mission is to make mainstream books, quote, represent every child, close quote. Guided by this mandate, the nonprofit enlists, quote, sensitivity readers, close quote, and inclusion ambassadors, quote unquote, to rid children's stories of supposed stereotypes and derogatory connotations. So basically, they don't want little boys to know they're little boys, or little girls to know that they're little girls. This is absolute nonsense. It's time to fight back against this crap, man. It's time to mock these fools when it comes to people that are just straight up evil, people that they're trying to distort and confuse and the minds of children. These are despicable human beings. And when it's time to mock them, it's time to say that this stuff isn't right, because it's not right. They want to redo classic literature, stuff that taught people valuable lessons, and we shouldn't allow them to do it. It's getting really frustrating. All right, now moving on, a couple stories that I want to get to real quick. Black Americans divided on transgender advocacy. This according to a Pew research. So Black Americans support the feminist agenda of gender equality. This is a summary, but have divided opinions on whether to include transgender and non-binary issues in racial justice advocacy, according to a new report. Why? What does gender dysphoria have to do with skin color? I don't understand black people, that if America is so oppressive, if America is so systemically racist, if you really believe that crap, why would you want to minimize it and tie it to gender dysphoria? Skin color is not mental illness. Skin color is not mental illness. I don't understand this obsession with black activists that want to tie mental illness to skin color. It is not the same thing. You walk out of your freaking house and you're black. If you're lesbian, gay, whatever, your business. Racial justice, if you believe in it, is not the same thing as who you have sex with or gender dysphoria. And the black people that buy into this nonsense should be ashamed of themselves. I'm sick of this crap. The Pew Research Center on Thursday published an analysis of 4 general surveys it conducted between 2019 and last year. The report found that nearly 80% of black respondents said gender equality between men and women is, quote unquote, very important. Okay. While about 3/4 said feminism has played a significant role in advancing women's rights. Here's a quote from Kiana Cox. She's the Pew researcher. She said, however, this same kind of consensus is not present when it comes to issues of gender identity. Black adults were divided into nearly equal thirds on the question of tolerance for transgender people. Guys, let me ask you a question. Let's be real. Would this study even exist pre-Barack Obama? Let's be real. With 36% saying the country has not gone far enough in accepting them, and 29% saying the nation has gone too far. So 29% of blacks say that the nation has gone too far in accepting gender dysphoria as something or trans as something that's real. The remaining 31% said the level of acceptance has been about right. So blacks are split. 36% saying the country hasn't gone far enough in accepting them. Talking about trans, talking about people with gender dysphoria. I'm getting ready to outline a story for you or report a story to you in Canada that's absolutely horrendous. Another story of detransitioning and what happened to this young lady whose life is devastated and she will be tormented for the rest of her life. It's absolutely astonishing to me. And it's so sad to me that blacks have become, blacks are just guinea pigs for the Democrat Party. That's all we are. That's all we are. We're guinea pigs for the Democrat Party. And because we want to be, I don't know, accepted by Democrats because we want a pat on the back. I don't know why the hell we think victimization is a virtue. That's really disturbing to me. Worrying about what government and other people think about us rather than what God thinks about us. So we buy into all this godless crap. I'm sorry. Dudes cannot be women. Women cannot be dudes. I don't care what surgery you have. I don't care what mental health counseling you go through. You will never be able to change your sex. Never, ever, ever. And black people, sadly, particularly those on the left, are so tied up into this victim mentality. What are they willing to do? They're willing to accept other victims because misery loves company. That's what's going on right here. That's what's going on. The report did not explain or speculate about the divide in black attitudes towards gender equality and transgender advocacy. I can tell you what it is. Some blacks believe in God and they vote conservatives, and others don't, and they vote Democrat. That's what's going on. And the others are too coward to take a stand. Either way, that's what's going on. That's the real story. All right. If you want to break it down, 29% of blacks that say, nah, you know what? I'm not down for this gender dysphoria being linked up to racial justice. They're conservatives. That's what it is. It's as simple as that. They actually believe in God. They actually have freaking common sense. Blacks that have been brainwashed by European Marxism in college. Here's what's happening. Black adults with a bachelor's degree were more likely than those with a high school diploma to support feminist concerns and say black advocacy groups should address the concerns of black LGBTQ people. Of course, these are people that were brainwashed in college, blacks that were brainwashed, cultural Marxism. They say social justice and all this crap. They don't realize that all they're doing is perpetuating European Marxism. Black women were also more likely than black men in the surveys to support gender equality and post about it on social media. Of course, a bunch of single ladies that like hanging around with feminine guys, guys that act like them, who can't find a man for themselves, are not married, raising little boys to be feminizing boys, where boys are always angry and mad and always emoting, always emotional. Of course, they're gonna side with this. So again, black men in the surveys, black women were also more likely than black men in the surveys to support gender equality and post about it on social media, describe themselves as feminists, and say black advocacy groups, again, should include LGBTQ issues. Are we surprised? I'm not. Now, here's the story. Here's what's really happening. This is why this is so sad. This had to the Daily Wire. I talked about this on Officer Tatum's show yesterday. A detransitioner files first lawsuit in Canada against the medical providers. So there's a woman in Ontario, Canada, who identified as trans or a transgender and underwent hormone therapy. She had a bilateral mastectomy, meaning she got her breastitis cut off. She had a hysterectomy filed, and a hysterectomy. She filed the first lawsuit in Canada against her healthcare providers for facilitating her transition. Guys, I'm going to go through this and prove to you that, remember the good old days when medical professionals and mental health professionals promised to do no harm, and they actually cared about the well-being of their patients? Sadly, that day is gone. I mean, many of them do. Obviously, you have the frontline doctors. You have like doctors like Scott Atlas, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. You have many admirable doctors that are being persecuted by the left in the United States of America, and I'm sure around the globe, frankly. But and then you have a great alarming number and growing number of doctors and mental health care professionals that literally don't have any moral core, don't have any common sense, are down to make money, have no courage whatsoever, and just go along to get along with this trans movement, which is sickening. Michelle Zachigna, she's a 34-year-old woman from Orillia, Ontario. She recently announced the lawsuit that she filed against the eight doctors and mental health professionals who treated her over the years, alleging that they failed to address her complex mental health needs and instead allowed her to self-diagnose as transgender and undergo irreversible procedures that she now regrets. Here's the quote from Zachigna, the victim of these evil doctors and mental health professionals. She says, "I've been holding this card close to my chest for a while." And remember, she doesn't have a chest anymore because she had a double mastectomy. So I've been holding this card close to my chest for a while, and I'm ready to show it, she says. In November 2022, I commenced legal action against the Canadian healthcare providers that facilitated my medical transition in Ontario. All right. So when Zachigna self-diagnosed herself, she was only 21 years of age. This happened back in 2009. All right. Now imagine what's happening with children today that are being allowed to self-diagnose themselves. And we're told that we're supposed to affirm this nonsense. California has made it law. This chick goes on to say, having spent years dealing with depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicide attempts, she discovered the concept of gender identity. So while she was depressed, while she was full of anxiety, while she wanted to kill herself, someone introduced this concept of gender identity to her. Isn't that amazing? She became convinced that all her problems were due to being transgender, a belief that was never challenged by her healthcare providers before. So here's Zachigna's journey with evil doctors, all right? So Zachigna entered a support group in Toronto. The group was called Gender Journeys. Always have great names, these leftists do, where she met a doctor who referred her for male hormone therapy after 1 hour. After 1 hour. Zachigna's regular therapist, you would think the one that would actually care for Zachigna, because this person knows Zachigna's history, also recommended hormone therapy despite being aware of her long history of serious mental health issues. And then After 3 appointments with another doctor, Zachigna was prescribed testosterone. It's almost as if they've got a system, a money-making system in place. You get these mentally ill people. Let's make money off of these mentally ill people. Let's not. We don't have any courage or whatever. Let's not give them the real help that we need. Let's just send them down this trans pipeline. All right. In 2012, the Florida surgeon right here in Florida chopped off her breastitis. I'm just being funny. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm thinking of In Living Color, breastitis. All right. So gave her a double mastectomy. And then she received a letter. It says in 2012, a surgeon in Florida removed her breast, Zachigna's breast, after she received a letter from her doctors recommending her for a bilateral mastectomy. In 2017, she underwent a hysterectomy after being referred by another doctor. And in 2019, guess what happened in 2019? This is when she made the decision to detransition after realizing, listen to this, that her mental health diagnosis and developmental disabilities explained the problems she was experiencing. Much more succinctly than identifying as transgender ever had, she says. She now deeply regrets the irreversible procedures that she underwent. So she finally found a counselor that cared for her with real convictions and common sense that told her the truth. She said, I will live the rest of my life without breast, with a deepened voice and male pattern balding, and without the ability to get pregnant. So they robbed this lady of the ability to sound like a woman, to feel pretty with nice hair, and to get pregnant, to ever be a mother. This is what these evil bastards did in the medical and mental health industry. All of them should be forced to undergo a trans surgery. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but man, could you imagine? Could you imagine if they impose this crap on other people? That's what they're doing. They're taking advantage of mentally ill people and making money off of them. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So sad. It's so sad. The lawsuit claims the healthcare providers who treated her failed to address her serious mental health issues and developmental disabilities, and instead offer her irreversible medical interventions. The defendants permitted Michelle. This is a statement of claim filed at the Ontario Supreme Court of Justice. The defendants permitted Michelle to self-diagnose as transgender and prescribe her own treatment without providing a differential diagnosis or proposing alternative treatment. Excuse me. Who are the professionals? Who are the professionals? That's what I want to know. Not one doctor or mental health physician challenged or expert challenged Zachigna's desire to become a dude. Not one of them. Despite knowing her history. Despite knowing her history of mental illness. Despite knowing that she was 21 years old before she even discovered the concept of gender identity, right? Or gender transforming her body, transitioning her body. 21 years old. So that means that she had never thought about this stuff before the age of 21, never encountered it, no history, had already been getting treated for mental health concerns, and yet she was allowed to self-diagnose herself. These people are evil, taking advantage of mentally ill people to make money. All right, now here's the last story that I want to get to, and this is big in my opinion. Guys, Revolver News had to them. It's been confirmed Undercover Metropolitan Police were undercover employees, and they were agent provocateurs during January 6th, on January 6th. All right, so this is a guy by the name of Stephen Horn, who apparently is also a defendant, a J6 defendant. He's been writing about this stuff because he's been entangled in it. There's now evidence that there were agents, not just FBI agents, but also Metropolitan Police undercover employees that were agent provocateurs. So he says here, many of us wondered if some of the J6 protesters caught on tape were FBI informants. Well, yeah, they were. So the first admission by the federal government that any sort of undercover agents were present was in a criminal complaint that was filed against a guy by the name of Phi Duong, D-U-O-N-G, in June of 2021. Now, those specific undercover employees are back in the spotlight, he says, with a viral Twitter thread by another J6 defendant, a guy by the name of William Pope. So William Pope included descriptions of several scenes from a video in which MPD UCEs join in a crowd, UCEs or undercover employees, join in crowd chants and encourage people to, quote, move towards the Capitol. In reviewing the material for his own case, he says he's been able to watch the video in question and can confirm that Pope's claims regarding the undercover employees, Metropolitan undercover employees, are largely accurate, he says. All right, so here's the case. The case is United States versus Duong, Phi Duong. All right, so on the morning of J6, a Virginia man named Phi Duong met a Metropolitan Police undercover employee. According to the court filing, near the Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C., Duong must have exchanged contact information with the MPD UCE, again stands for Metropolitan Police undercover employee, as he used the opportunity to introduce Duong to an undercover FBI agent. All right, the FBI agent proceeded to infiltrate a sort of gun club, which Duong was a member of. The agent was not able to entice Duong himself into any criminal activity. Did you hear that? The agent wasn't able to entice Duong into any criminal activity. However, Duong was charged with J6 related offenses. But the agent was able to get another member of the group, a guy by the name of Adam McGlory, charged with firearm-related offenses. This is amazing. All right, so now there's also an MPD, Metropolitan Police and Electronic Surveillance Unit. I don't know if they're contractors or actually part of the Metropolitan Police themselves, but this is part of the court filing. As report, this is him following up. I'm sorry, this is an excerpt from the criminal complaint statement of facts against Phi Duong, as reported by Patricia Tolson in the Epic Times. The Metropolitan Police Department had uncovered plainclothes employees in the crowd on J6 to, quote, document the actions of the demonstrators and MPD's response to any civil disobedience or criminal activity, close quote. The video reference in the Pope filing is one of the videos recorded by the Electronic Surveillance Unit and was kept as quote-unquote sensitive material in the J6 evidence archive provided to defendants. So this information was kept as sensitive. I'll get into what that means. The video cannot currently be made public as defendants are required, listen to this, the defendants are required to sign a protective order preventing certain quote-unquote sensitive or highly sensitive, quote unquote, material from being disclosed. Can you imagine that? You're a J6 defendant. There is video evidence that could free you of all charges, but you're being forced to sign some type of documentation that says that prevents you from certain sensitive or highly sensitive material. In other words, what I believe is happening, my opinion, is these little punk behind cops or surveillance unit in Washington, D.C., there was plenty of evidence that they were agent provocateurs, that they were setting up these J6 defendants, and these J6 defendants have an alibi that has video evidence that they're not allowed, or that is not permissible in court because it's classified, because it's sensitive. In November 2022, William Pope included the following claims as part of a motion to compel the government to give him more access to discovery, access to your own defense. This is so scandalous. All right. As 3 undercover MPD officers approached the northwest corner of the Capitol grounds around approximately 1:40 p.m., Officer 1, who is filming, joins the crowd in chanting, "Drain the swamp." Officer 1, drain the swamp. Near the northwest walkway, the 3 undercover officers see men running towards the Capitol. So Officer 2, who is wearing black overalls, a black hoodie, a black bandana, and a red Trump beanie, remarks, "Those guys are getting shot," quote unquote, Shortly after this, Officer 2 says, and I'm quoting, "I'm going to follow this from a distance," close quote. As they walk forward, Officer 2 then says, this is amazing. Officer 1 responds, quote, "Yeah, I've never seen anything like this," close quote. Officer 2 then changes their direction, and the 3 undercover officers head towards the northwest scaffolding. You guys have seen those pictures on the news, right? That scaffolding that was up near the scaffolding. A man asked them, quote, "Is Trump still walking here?" close quote. Officer 2 remarks, "Honestly, I don't think he can walk that far. Let's be honest. He's long-winded, though, that's for sure," close quote. When prosecutors reach the top of the stairs and scaffolding, the 3 undercover officers move forward. Or when protesters, I'm sorry. The 3 officers move forward. Officer 3, a clean-shaven white dude who is wearing a blue jacket and a gray beanie, yells, "Holy S." All right. Officer 2 then reiterates his belief that someone will get shot with a wink and a nudge. Officer 3 asks Officer 2 if he wants to go up there too, as well. Officer 2 smiles and says, "I'll be honest with you, kinda." Officer 1 says, "Yeah," and taps them to move forward as Officer 2 laughs about it. When Officer 1 asks the other officers which way they want to go, Officer 2 suggests going up the stairs with protesters. Near the base of the stairs, Officer 1 joins the crowd in chanting, "Whose house? Our house," close quote. Officer 1 begins yelling at people in front of him, "Go, go, go." Wow. As they climb bicycle racks, Officer 1 yells for the crowd to help him up, followed by push him up, push him up. Officer 1 also pushes others in front of him to get them to advance on the Capitol. Unfreaking believable. And he yells, "Come on, come on, let's go," as those around him climb the bike racks and scaffolding, needing help to get up. Officer 1 asks a nearby man to give him a boost. The man gives Officer 1 a lift up, and Officer 1 says, "Thanks, bro." As Officer 1 advances up the stairs, he continues to urge the crowd onward, yelling, "Come on, go, go, go," followed shortly by keep going, close quote. These phrases are repeated as the undercover officer moves forward with the crowd. At one point, Officer 1 encounters a woman trying to go back down the steps and discourages her from attempting it. Near the middle of the steps, Officer 1 encounters a man he recognizes wearing a blue jacket and what appears to be swim goggles and a white gargoyle mask with gold teeth. Officer 1 greets the man as Tim, and the plainclothes Tim responds, "What's going on, bro?" This video clearly evidences undercover law enforcement officers urging the crowds to advance up the stairs and scaffolding towards the Capitol on J6. Carl, they didn't have to do it. Guys, please stop being so freaking sanctimonious. Stop being so self-righteous. Sometimes you get caught up in a moment. Not saying it's right or wrong, but you do. And then if these agent provocateurs weren't there, certainly that lady that went down the steps wouldn't have come back up the steps if a cop hadn't encouraged her to do so. Caught up in the moment. People get caught up. Stop being so self-righteous. These people were set up. They were set up. The government may claim that incidents like this did not happen, but the facts show they did. Since the government cannot be trusted to disclose these facts, the author says it becomes even more important that defense teams, including defendants, be able to directly examine the evidence. How are you not allowed to examine the evidence that could exonerate you? This is why these J6 videos are so important. This is why the left is completely panicked. The former J6 committee are completely panicked because I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of video evidence that is going to exonerate these defendants. These defendants, I'm sure, in my opinion, if they are found to be innocent of charges, I mean, these are trespassing charges. They should be trespassing charges. You've got men that have been in jail for a couple of years now, with no good, just persecuted, basically, on trespassing charges, awaiting to see a judge, awaiting for a trial over trespassing charges. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that any crime that happens in Washington, D.C., if you're not a resident in D.C., it should be tried outside of Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. is nothing but a bunch of liberal left-wing, actually not even liberal, left-wing activists that hate Donald Trump, that hate Republicans, that are willing to destroy people's lives because they don't think like them. It's sickening. It's sickening. And now there's more evidence of it. So I cannot wait to start seeing. And Julie Kelly has been documenting this stuff. Make sure you check her out at AM Greatness. But I can't wait to see more evidence that appears on Tucker Carlson's program. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please follow me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Carl Jackson Show on YouTube. And also find our podcast wherever podcasts are found. As far as social media, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on True Social, I'm on Getter. You can find me there. Don't forget to help out our sponsors. Help yourselves out. You want a good night's rest? My Pillow 2.0. And I'm dead serious about it. Honestly, man, I feel like I've overslept a couple of days. I feel like that pillow is making me sleep too good. If you want that experience, My Pillow, get the new My Pillow 2.0. Just go to mypillow.com. All right, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page. Enter my name, Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. Also, don't forget, 4Patriots, the number 4Patriots.com. Get yourself a survival kit. Right now, you can go to 4Patriots.com. If it's your first purchase, all you have to do is mention my name or type in my name. You'll get 10% off of your first purchase. This includes a 3-month survival kit. You'll get a year-long guarantee plus free shipping on any order that is over $97. And they're called 4Patriots for a reason. A portion of every sale goes to help out charities that help out veterans and their families. So you can help out veterans and their families while supporting an American business, while making sure that your family is prepared in case of a disaster, in case of an emergency, with food supply that will last 25 years. That is 4Patriots.com. Enter the promo code Carl. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.